All right, by my watch, it's 6:02. I'm Ty Morrow, I'm the chairman of the Civil Service Commission. We'll go ahead and call this meeting to order. And to start, I will read the meeting notifications to ensure that we're in compliance with the Open Meetings Act. This meeting will be live streamed via YouTube Live and may be accessed from the City of Freeport, Freeport's page at www.facebook.com/Freeport, Texas, or by visiting the YouTube channel, which is www.youtube.com/City of Freeport 8375/streams. In accordance with Section 551043 of the Texas Code, Government Code, the agenda has been posted at Freeport City Hall and distributed to appropriate news media with the required time frame. All meetings of the Freeport Civil Service Commission are open to the public, and the public participation and written comments are invited on all open sessions and business items. The Commission requests that cell phones be turned off or set to vibrate. Members of the audience, if you requested to step outside to conduct your phone conversations, the council chambers wheelchair accessible and special parking is available outside the building. If a special accommodation is required, please contact the Human Resource Director at least 72 hours in advance at 979-233-3526. I will call this meeting to order at exactly 6:03 p.m. on January 21st, 2026. If we can please stand for the invocation.
Lord, we thank you for another day. We pray, Lord, that you bless our meeting tonight and this Civil Service Commission. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. I will now say the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Now the pledge to the Texas flag. I honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, and indivisible. Thank you. You may be seated. At this point, are there any citizens' comments?
Good evening. I just want to thank you, Mr. Moore, Mr. Morrow, and Mr. Hernandez for volunteering, and I appreciate you, and the city appreciates you. Thank you.
Thanks, Gina.
Thank you, sir.
Are there any other citizens' comments? Hearing and seeing none, we'll move into the actual agenda items for tonight. The initial agenda item was point number 5. It was the initial discussion regarding administrative support for the Civil Service Commission to include consideration of an appointment of a city human resources director to provide administrative support, evaluation of projected costs associated with contracted clerical assistance versus utilization of human resources staff, and finally, the assessment of the current city staffing capacity to assume civil service-related administrative responsibilities. I'm going to make a motion that we table that for now because the city's HR director is unavailable to be able to give us information that we need to make an informed decision. But what I would ask is that the city, the city manager, if she could, begin to look at, estimated cost, that what it would cost to go outside to hire HR director, and additionally to make an assessment with the current staff if they do have the capabilities to assist with some of the clerical and documentation work that is required by the Civil Service Commission. And I know that if your city is like the school district, that's an unbudgeted item, and I know your budget is already in place for this year. And I think it would be our hope and goal is that we would not try to overtax the city's revenues that are in short stream now. And if there's another viable option that we can do, we need to see if we can work towards that. All right. Jenny?
Mr. Chairman, I have
Yes.
a question
Yes,
or a
sir.
couple of comments. One was, yes, on budget. Does the civil service, do we have a budget, and where's the money for all the services is gonna come from, right?
Yes.
And then on consideration of appointing the city's Human Services Director to provide administrative support to the commission. Yeah, one of the things I guess we'll need to work on, what type of support, what are the details of that support? I think some are obvious, but some might not be. And under evaluation of projected costs associated with the contracted clerical assistance versus utilization of existing human resources staff. Yeah, the question will be, if we decide to go with the existing human resources, do they have the capability for the additional workload?
Correct.
That's all the comments I have.
All right, thank you, sir.
And Commissioner, if I could, I can address a couple of those things. I think what I'd recommend is, I can do this for you all, go through the Civil Service Code and make sure and identify all the tasks that you will need the director to do, right? So you have a list of tasks and these tasks that need to be done for startup between now and October, and then tasks that would be on an ongoing basis once y'all get up and operational, right? And then from that, you would develop some job qualifications based on those tasks, right? What kind of qualifications do you need from an applicant or the HR department? With regard to budget, it would probably be most helpful for the commission to come up with an estimated budget, present it to the city. Because the city already did their budget before October 1st, because the fiscal year begins October 1st.
Correct.
However, because the election occurred after November, this was undetermined whether we would need expenses for the civil. So the city council can do a budget amendment and make allotment for a budget for Civil Service Commission. And budgets are always difficult. I know that y'all may have experience in your regular life and business of putting together budgets, and y'all may be able to do that. And you may be able to do that just fine. But then if you need assistance, from me or from the city manager, you have some templates or something like that for budget spreadsheet templates or something like that, so y'all can go through and figure out the best estimate you can of what it would take, at least through this fiscal year.
Correct.
Right?
I get that, sir. And my only concern is this, I am extremely a conservative, and I don't believe in spending, tax dollars frivolously. So my goal would be to see if there's a possibility, existing staff that is currently in place, that is already being paid, that if they have the capacity to pick up some additional work, then, that would be my recommendation to facilitate that, because this is, of course, again, an unknown expense that occurred. And initially, I think a lot of our work is going to be research-based and putting documents together and doing agendas for here to get the rules and everything up. And then once we get the rules up, that workload is going to greatly diminish, because if I remember correctly, hearing Chief Howell and Chief Motley say they maybe go through 4 issues a year on disciplinary and maybe a few promotions. So I don't think, based on my experience, 45 years, it doesn't take a whole lot, to facilitate that. And I don't want to hire somebody, have them on board, have them do a lot of work up front, for 3 months, and then they coasting for the next 4 years,
Right.
Getting paid for us, because.
But and then also, y'all be involved in the hiring too, right?
Yes.
There's typically, for small, the local cities, there's typically quite a bit of turnover, so there is actually a lot of hiring. If there's not that much discipline or promotions, there usually is a number of hiring phases just in 1 year. So.
Okay. Yeah. So I'm good with that. I just want to make sure we're being good stewards of the tax dollar, moving forward. So that would be my only, so for that one, we'll just table it for now until we can get a hold of the HR director and get a read from the city manager if they have the capacity or not. So moving on to item B, which is the being similar discussion regarding the designation of the official records custodian for the Civil Service Commission. And again, that is one of the duties. It probably could, if I'm not mistaken, fall under the HR director, or it could fall under the city secretary.
That would be the city secretary is the official custodian of
Okay.
records for the
Okay.
city, so.
Okay.
yes.
Clarissa didn't.
And Clarissa now, I believe, I mean, she's, you know, keeping y'all's, you know, your agendas and any documents, and doing the posting and stuff. So she's the custodian of records that would apply to y'all at this point, and maybe forever.
And with that being said, Mr. City Manager, I also asked you to look at, you know, okay, what is Ms. Clarissa's workload? And is that going to put additional stresses on her? And if so, is there a, you know, a possibility, additional compensation for her, you know, picking up those extra duties that weren't planned for her when she originally got her job description? So if we could just, you know, work that one through and then get back to us, and then we can make a decision about where we go, if that's okay with the commission.
I agree.
I agree as well.
If I can just start out, I wanted to make a statement that I didn't make before, but it's a little off topic, so we're working through the process of what our protocols are going to be. But I just want to make it very clear that, you know, we, being Mr. Moore and Mr. Hernandez, we are a team. There is no one person that's in charge or the leader. We all make decisions together based on hopefully frank conversations that are, you know, professional in their nature, but with the task in mind of accomplishing the things that the city and the officers and the firefighters expect from us. Because, you know, I think, you know, our number one goal is to secure an efficient, politically neutral department by providing permanent tenure, competitive high promotion processes, and discipline that is fair to the individuals if they find themselves in trouble. It's administered by this commission, you know, the three members together, and, you know, we make votes, and we will, you know, ratify those votes based on, you know, our beliefs and our opinions. It is the goal is to work, you know, together to accomplish this. In my prior job, you know, I do a lot of this. I write policy. You know, I put things together, you know, on behalf of the school district. So much so, just to let you know, not to boast, but just to let you know that I'm qualified, is, you know, we did so much in our policy writing that we won for the state of Texas the best safety and security protocols in the state of Texas based on the policies we put in place. So things that I bring to you, I just do out of research, because that's my other passion, is to do research and find out things. So I'm just going to bring things, make suggestions, and they're just that, suggestions. They're just something I found, just my opinion. Doesn't mean it's right, doesn't mean it's wrong. It means we need to discuss it, and if you find common ground, then we agree that that's common ground. If we find differences, then we just find differences, and we find a compromise, and we collaborate and come to some kind of agreement with the number one thing in mind. Our purpose and our mission is to make sure there's secure, efficient, politically neutral, department-provided, premature, you know, tenure for the staff that are here. And that, you know, that's our ultimate accomplishment. So with that being said, we'll move on to the next item. Yes, sir.
Yes, just to add on what you mentioned, that is correct. We are here to work together. And one of the first things that we're going to do is, as you know, is develop the procedures, guidelines. So basically, that's the foundation for the Civil Service Commission, and it has to be right, it has to be correct. You know, all the loopholes need to be closed. We need to take our time and work together and use the resources that we have around us.
Item C, initial regarding the potential engagement of outside legal counsel with the demonstrated expertise in civil service law to advise the commission on establishment, compliance, and ongoing operations. I know me and Mr. City Attorney had some initial discussions on that, and I'll let him go ahead and lay that out for us.
Okay, so, there are a few, this is somewhat of a specialized area. There are a few attorneys around the state that do this and only this. And so we're going to the Civil Service Conference, will occur next week in Waco. Those folks will be there, right? So I'll have an opportunity in it, and if any commissioners are able to attend, have an opportunity maybe to talk to some of those folks. It's, I've talked to other city attorneys that have gone through this process before, and I've gotten some feedback. I got some kind of mixed reviews, right? Some said, hey, the people they used were great, and they lined them out very easily. Then I had some that said, hey, it turned out it was a waste of money because they just went through the statute, the same thing that they had already done, and they hired a specialist attorney to do the first help on the first civil service hearing, the first discipline appeal, and they said actually the outside counsel did worse because they really weren't familiar with the facts, right? So, so I will, make sure and talk to those folks and come back to the board, with recommendations. I have no problem consulting with other folks that know more than I do, right? I mean, I don't know everything. I like to think I'm pretty smart, and I don't think this is really rocket science. It's something different, but the statute is pretty self-explanatory. I think really the value in talking to attorneys that do this or other cities that do this, the value is the unexpected things that come just through experience, right? And if you can anticipate those and try to, like you were saying, close the loopholes, or not necessarily loopholes, but anticipate, the difficulties, because there's a learning curve, right? And I talked to some attorneys and they said, hey, we've had our first set of rules, and even they had the experts help them set up the first set of rules, but in practice they had to come back and make changes because they ran into difficulties and problems. So I mean, we can't have can't expect perfection from right out of the gate, right? That's why being fair, impartial, and independent is most important. And as long as you're fair, impartial, and independent, you will use good judgment and be fair to the officers that come to you on, and to the chief, both sides on the appeal. So I'll be able to present y'all some more information about that after next week.
That would be perfect, thank you. And the only reason I bring that up is, working 25 years in Fairfax that has, Civil Service Summer Commission, and then working in Bryan College Station, the experts in civil service is needed because sometimes, those are the experts that know the nuances of those particular laws in HR, which can be very complicated, and if you don't do things exactly the way they need to be, then not only could it hurt the city, could it also adversely affect the employee that's being reviewed. And that's the only reason. I'm not saying that we have to have an outside counsel for everyone, but when you get those, those tricky cases, the officer or the firefighter whose livelihood is in danger is going to spend any expense they can to get the best lawyer that they can find to fight the loopholes that we may not close. So, all right, thank you. Moves us over to the next item on our agenda, which is a initial discussion regarding the use of personal or employee-issued electronic devices, including cell phones, computers, and electronic communication platforms by the commission members for commission-related business, including legal considerations related to public records, subpoenas, and discoverability under court order. And I only say that from being in law enforcement. If you use your personal cell phone for work and that you do something evidentiary-wise, that phone and everything on it is now open to be reviewed by a court of law. So, with that being said, I would like, for the city manager and her staff to look at considerations to see if there's a need for either a laptop or a tablet or something that we can use that are separate from our personal and our work stuff, because I do a lot of intricate stuff for BISD that I have to use my computer that I don't want to cross with the commission work, and I surely don't want them taking my cell phone. So,
I mean, that's actually something y'all can do if y'all want to make a motion to vote. Y'all can say, hey, we want to, we want to make a formal request to the city to see if they can provide cell phones for each commissioner and either a laptop or tablet or some sort of computer.
Yeah.
If you need it. Some people are,
Donate, right.
are very laptop intensive. Some people like pads. Some people just like pencil and paper.
Right.
So, yeah, if y'all want to, y'all could do a motion, make a formal request for that if you want to do that, then we'll forward that on to the city,
Well, I'll start the motion. I'd like to make a formal request for the city to provide the commissioners, if they so want, for me, a tablet. I really don't need a full-blown computer, just tablet to do work, and a inexpensive cell phone to be able to conduct the city's business.
I second the motion for tablet and cell phone.
All right. I'll call the question. Mr. Moore?
I agree.
All right. All right, all three agree, so that the motion is that the city will look at providing tablets and cell phones for the commission to conduct city business. All right. So that motion passes, so we move on to item E. Oh, yes, sir. I'm sorry, Mr.
Regarding our email address,
Oh.
I know some of us are using personal or work email address, but I noticed that I went to the city's homepage, and it has the city council members' emails listed, and they actually have a City of Freeport email. So I would like to suggest that we have a City of Freeport email
Address.
or address, yes.
Okay. So I hear a motion saying that Mr. Hernandez would like for us to have the city issue us an email address. I would second that motion.
I agree.
So all in favor, so the motion carries. City emails, thank you. That was on my list too, I hadn't
Let
got
me-
to it yet.
Let me intervene a second, because I think at the first meeting, I don't know if Clarissa was here. Do we have somebody taking notes as far as minutes? Okay, I just want to make sure. All right.
Thank you. Is there any other discussion on that one? Hearing none, okay, move to item E, the discussion regarding the stakeholder engagement necessary for the effective implementation of the Civil Service Commission to include potential interviews and coordination with the following individuals. First and foremost, Dr. Kelly, so we can get her input on her ideas and things that she has envisioned for the city as the new city manager. We would like to have access and be able to talk to Chief Howell from the police department to get her perspective, Chief Motley from the fire department to get his perspective. We'd like to meet with the Freeport Police Department sworn personnel. We would like to meet with the Freeport Fire Department officers and paramedics, and then external municipalities or agencies currently operating under the civil service system that either Chief Motley, Chief Howell, or Dr. Kelly has talked to, so we can get insight so we don't have to recreate the wheel of things they've already been able to uncover. That would just be, my opinion or request.
Hi, Danielle Kelly. I have a question for clarification. Will that be the entire commission having these interviews, or are you going to designate one person?
No, it'd be one person so we don't violate the Open Meetings Act and have a quorum. So it'd just be one person having set of questions to sit down with these staff and ask them specific information about their expectations of the Civil Service Commissions.
Okay, and do you want city staff to coordinate those meetings? And if so, who will be the point person for the commission?
Yes, you'd probably have to coordinate them so we can get their schedules together, but I think we could probably, if y'all don't object, I can take the lead on, setting the meetings up, and then we can sit down and discuss, okay, who do we want to target? Who's going to do what? All right,
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. I agree, okay. Yes, yes, sir.
Yeah, I have no objection of you being the representative. The only two comments I have, and you already mentioned one of those, is we just need to keep in mind that we need to comply with the Open Meetings Act when we have these meetings.
Yes, sir.
And also another one is, keep our independent commission status. When we have meetings, always keep in mind that we're independent from
Correct.
the police department representatives
Correct.
and fire department
Correct.
representatives. Thank you.
Mr. Moore, any comments?
No, sir.
All right, thank you on that one. That takes us to item F. Initial discussions regarding prior presentations made to the city council by Chief Howell, Chief Motley, and attorney Mr. Christopher Duncan, and the commission requests to obtain copies of these presentations for review and reference. 'Cause I think y'all had some good information in there that I would like to go back through, or at least I would, and comb through and make sure I didn't miss anything.
Okay, well, yeah, that's no problem. I can email the information that I have, presentations and other information, and then, y'all could just, Mr. Maher, you could email the chiefs, or if you want, I can email them and get them to, ask them to send them to y'all, either way.
I think some of them have already come through Dr. Howell from Chief Motley, and not their presentations, but some of the work they've already done. And so that would be item G. So the initial discussion regarding preliminary work completed to date by Chief Howell and Chief Motley. I think the commission has received an email that had a bunch of files and civil service commissions from other cities that they've actually reviewed in our possession. So we'll start kind of diving through those. And then that brings us to the next item on the agenda, which is the discussion regarding the external civil service agencies' points of contact. When we have those meetings with Chief Howell and Chief Motley, we'll be able to get the name, title, agency, phone number, email address, and the business information from the ones they've spoken to. So if we have good civil service examples that we like, then we can individually, contact those individuals and get further information about what might be good for us. All right, so any questions on that? Okay, perfect. All right, so then that brings us to possible discussion and action items, item number 6, and starting with number A. It says discussion and possible action regarding the development of a Civil Service Commission project timeline to include key milestones, deliverables, target dates necessary to achieve the statutory compliance within the required implementation period. So with that again, I took the liberty on behalf of the commission doing a lot of research and pull some information together for us, and this is just information, that's all it is, so I'm gonna just pass it out. So one of the things that I was able to look at is, in all actuality, there are about 9 key areas of the Civil Service Commission that needs to be put together. And in those 9 areas, there are sub-areas that relate to very detailed things that we have to go through. So only really about 8 of them apply to us because of the size of our city. And I think the ninth one is for the large municipalities. And they're kind of broken down in this area. So subchapter A is general provisions dealing with covers applicable, adoption, repeal, elections, definitions, the commission establishment, appointment, removal, rules, investigations, director role, department head appointments, and penalties for violations. Subchapter B deals with classification and appointment, which requires classification by rank, competitive entrance and promotional exams, eligibility lists, probationary periods, physical mental fitness requirements, and procedures for appointment and reappointments and temporary duties. The next chapter is compensation, and that's self-explanatory. The next chapter is disciplinary actions. The next chapter is leave and how they go about doing, military leave and regular leave. Then the next chapter is miscellaneous provision, things like fitness determination, efficiency reports, force reductions by seniority, bans on strikes and political activities, personnel files, polygraph limits, and other protections. Then G deals with large municipalities which do not apply to us. Then the next one is local control and collective bargaining, which I thought you said they weren't doing, but that might be a possibility, maybe in the future if they so choose. And then the final was dealing with EMS personnel. So when you look at that, we got a lot of work to conduct in about 9 months, or 8 months and some change. So that's a lot to get through. So what I tried to do was put some kind of like a timeline together, which I'm going to pass out to the group, and then anybody in the public that's here that may want a copy of it. Not, again, this is not approved. We hadn't voted on this. It's just my trying to capture thoughts of where we need to go. So if I could. And I apologize, I talked to Mr. Duncan, and he was telling me the process now that we can get these documents to you in the future.
Do you have extra?
Yes, I get 2 extra. In the future, I've been instructed now that I can send these documents to you ahead of time and without violating the Open Meetings Act. Or if you have documents you want us to review, you can send them to us. We just can't discuss them. We can review them, and then when we come to the meeting, we can sit down and actually go through conversations about them. So this is my first attempt to get this information before us on implementation project timeline. And in short, I know you're not going to read it tonight, and I don't expect you to, but the goal would be this, is we got about 8 months and change. We have to have this done by October 1 of 2027. And the goal to accomplish that, we have to go through all these steps. So on your document that I sent you, I kind of put a timeline, each month that we work on a specific section of the Civil Service Code, and I start looking for the rules that meet our requirements, and then spend the next meeting going over them, approve them, and then moving on to the next section. And then systematically, every month, we're doing something that takes care of those 8 areas that we just talked about. And the way that we get there is we review the Chapter 143, and then we also review the litany of sample examples that we got from Chief Motley and from Chief Howe. And then, see what works for us, work in coordination with Mr. Duncan, passing up to him, say, does this meet the legal standards? Are we legally going in the right direction? So with that, I'll shut up for a minute and just let y'all kind of quickly cruise through this and see if we have any questions that come up. Oh, I got one more, Jerry, Mr. Councilman. Sir, is there any further discussion? Tonight, I don't expect us to take a vote on this, because I know this, you got it last minute, so you may want to take some time to digest it.
Yeah, I just have a question as far as, because of the, I mean, just looking at it, it's a lot of things to accomplish. Do y'all have an idea of, as far as a meeting schedule, how often y'all would like to meet and so forth?
Next item.
Oh, okay.
That would be the next item on the agenda is how often do we want to meet to, move in this direction to be able to accomplish the litany of tasks that we have to accomplish in 8 months and some change. So, I think currently we had set that it was, I can't remember what the date we said it was on Tuesdays. I know this was a special meeting because we had to get it going, but I forgot what date we said we're going to try and do it on.
Thursdays?
I thought we had for some reason, I thought it was the third Tuesday.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
When we were thinking about it, once a month
Yes.
meeting was the third, right?
Yeah, it was,
You could do, the first and, maybe the first and third Tuesday, I don't know. Let me see.
Yeah, because we know Mondays are out, right?
council meetings, I think.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the council, yeah, because there were other meetings.
There were other
We had
meetings.
to coordinate with the other board meetings.
The council meets the first and third Monday of the month.
Actually, I think, do we have anything on Thursdays? Any board meetings on
Looking.
Thursdays? Oh,
Yeah, she's,
Can I say something?
Yes.
The Board of Adjustment usually meets on Thursdays.
yeah.
okay. Is it a specific Thursday of each month?
Depends on what we've got, you know.
Okay.
Yeah, they get their package together and then
Mhm.
they meet.
It looks like the Main Street Historical Commission is not here, but that's Thursday, the third Thursday. Fourth Thursday looks like BOA is the fourth Thursday. But Tuesdays, except for the fourth Tuesday, which is planning and zoning here,
Planning
but the
and zoning.
first, second, and third look open.
Yes,
Oh,
the
yes,
second Tuesday.
you're right, sorry. The first and third Tuesdays are good.
First and third Tuesdays are good?
Yes, sir.
All right, first and third. Does that work for your schedule, Mr. Hernandez?
Yes, sir.
I think I have a conflict on the first Tuesday of each month. Yeah. But I can try to work around that. I'll work around that.
You walk around, okay, and what's a good time for you?
6 o'clock is
Six.
okay with me.
6, okay.
Yeah, 6 p.m. is good.
All right.
That's easier time to get than trying to get later in the evening.
Okay. For Tuesday at 6 p.m., so anybody want to make a motion that will be our meeting dates moving forward?
I'll make a motion that we go ahead and adopt the first Tuesday of each month at 6 p.m.
And how about the
First and third, or just the first?
first and the third?
First and third Tuesday, I'm sorry, yes.
Okay. Motion is amended to the first and the third Tuesdays of the month at 6 p.m. for the Civil Service Commission to meet. Get a second?
A second.
All right, and all those in favor? Aye. So that carries, so our meetings are now will be the first and the third Tuesdays of the month at 6 p.m. All right, perfecto. And And then the final action is the discussion and possible action regarding establishment of a process to place the items on the Civil Service Commission agenda until we establish what and who will be the HR director. And I think from talking to the city, Dr. Kelly, that the process will be is if you have an agenda item that you want to submit, that you would just submit it to, it's in Clarissa for now.
Fernandez, yeah.
Yeah, to Clarissa at the Freeport address, and she will take care of getting everything on the agenda until we move forward and figuring out what we're going to do with the HR director. And if you have any, after talking to Mr. Duncan, I'm sorry for the discombobulation tonight and getting these documents to you late. Moving forward, if you have documents or things that you want the council members to review, you can send those to Clarissa, and once she puts the packet together, she will send those documents out for you to review prior to the meeting, so we can make informed decisions versus getting them at the last minute. So, any questions or discussion on that one? Okay. With that being said, I got one more document I'm going to hand out. Again, it's just my suggestion on what our bylaws.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
How far in advance do we need to submit the agenda items?
Okay, so the agenda has to be posted at 3 full business days. So if you're going to have your meeting on Tuesday, that means the last minute would be Wednesday, right? Because it has to be posted all day Thursday. It has to be posted Wednesday evening at 5, right? So it'll be posted Thursday, Friday, and Monday. So the Wednesday before, hopefully like Wednesday at noon, I think that's usually how they'll do it, because Clarissa will need time to make sure she's get it all done, right? So Wednesday at noon before the meeting on Tuesday would be the
I think we have
deadline.
another meeting on Thursday, so,
What's that?
but there's another meeting on Thursday, so that for that meeting, we need, they need to be turned in when, on Monday?
No, I think this meeting here was set for Thursday because there were conflicts. I think moving forward, we'll start moving the meetings to the first Tuesday and the third Tuesday of the month. And Thursdays are off the table.
I just want to clarify that if there is a holiday anywhere in there, that time frame will back up a day minimum. Yes.
Yeah, I think Clarissa is very good, right? And so we'll just make sure that she'll let y'all know. She'll usually send out reminders saying, hey, this is going to be the deadline if y'all have anything to submit, and then she'll calculate in those holidays too, so.
All right, perfect.
She does that to help me all the time, so.
This is just for your review and knowledge. We're not going to discuss it tonight. We can, discuss that and get it on the next agenda.
Last week and making sure we hit the deadline for the agenda.
Make sure I didn't miss anything. Documents. There's review, got that. I think I've covered everything I wanted to cover. Mr. Duncan.
Chairman Morrow, do you have if you could send me a Word version of this bylaw, email it to me?
Mhm.
Then you could write off, I see a couple of small changes,
Okay,
and then we can work on some drafts that way.
all right, Word document of that. All right, perfect. Any other discussion, comments? Seeing none, we get to the last one, number 7, which is adjourn. Can I have somebody make a motion?
Make a motion, we adjourn.
I second that. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So that'd probably be the quickest meeting we ever have. moving forward.